When we talk about democratic political institutions in this time period in the first half of the 1800s, that should be democratic with a little d. We're not talking about the Democratic Party, although we will talk about the party very soon with Andrew Jackson and Martin Van Buren. No, this kind of democratic refers to democracy, the idea of government by the people. So when we say that political institutions became more democratic at this time, it has nothing to do with the party. It means that people are taking more of an active role in government. And the first way they're doing that is through voting. By the 1820s, there is no longer a land ownership requirement for voting in any of the states. The states had gradually been getting away from this requirement of owning land before you could vote. So by the 1820s, we have what we can call universal white male suffrage. In other words, every adult male has the right to vote. Also, public officials are becoming increasingly more elected, not appointed. This is at both the state level and at the local level. This includes things like judges and executive office holders. These people, as we get further into the 1800s, are going to find that their jobs require them to win an election, approval by the people, not just be appointed by somebody else in government. And public officials, as a result, are going to begin campaigning, and the campaigns are going to become more festive. They're going to become more dramatic. They're going to start to look more like we think of American politics. And political parties are going to form in the fashion that we imagine today. Although the Democratic Republicans and the Federalists existed before, they didn't look the same as political parties today. The parties that will develop in the second party system, the Democrats and the Whigs, are going to more closely resemble the political parties of today. And they start out at the state level. Martin Van Buren is widely credited with forming the Democratic Party in the state of New York. Now, these used to just be loose coalitions of state parties and local parties, but now Van Buren is going to work them into a national organization. And as a result, we really get the development of a main part of our government, and that is the two-party system. And at this time, the two-party system is no longer seen as a problem like it was during the Federalists and Democratic Republicans. The two-party system is now seen as essential to democracy. You have one party in power, but then the idea of the other party being the loyal opposition emerges. And what this means is that the party that's not in power serves as the watchdog. They keep an eye on what the party that's in charge is doing. And that loyal opposition party, the minority party, is ready to take over if that party in power goes against the will of the people, because the people will turn against them and vote for the other party. State parties come together and agree on national presidential candidates for the election of 1828. And as a result, some historians say that in 1828 we truly have our first national political parties. By 1828, almost all states are choosing presidential electors by popular vote, not the state legislature. In other words, the people actually get to choose the person who goes and casts the electoral ballot, not the state legislatures. Before, the state legislatures chose those people who were going to go do that, and now it's going to be chosen directly by the popular vote. Except South Carolina, and I think you know why South Carolina is the exception. The national parties, by 1831, they are having national party conventions. Now, prior to these national conventions, presidential candidates were chosen by party leaders. The platform was established by party leaders, maybe high-ranking people in the Senate or things like that. But now, at this national convention, it is much more democratic. The people get to vote on who their party's candidate is going to be. There is a democratic process for deciding the party platform. So by 1831, we're moving closer and closer to a more democratic system with parties that look much more like we have today. As a result, we have a lot more political participation. In 1824, we have 27% of the nation voting in the presidential election. That's 27% of eligible voters. It gradually creeps up in 1828. So by 1840, we have over 3/4 of the eligible voters voting. If we ever hit 78% voting in a modern election, government teachers would be doing backflips in celebration. 1840 is sometimes called the first modern election because we truly have two national parties by 1840. Each party is nominating just one candidate, and they are campaigning in all of the states. That's part of the reason we get such great voter turnout in the election of 1840. And those democratic political institutions have truly grown into something that our country can be proud of.